definitely Georgia and Alabama squaring off this Saturday.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to watch that game. I don't know. I think Georgia's going to pull it out. That's who I would probably go with, just because they got their coach. Alabama's still got their first year in was Kalen DeBoer from Washington. So we'll have to see how that game ends up.
And I think that the also thing to mention this is I said this last week. It don't matter who Georgia plays. They're an NFL team.
Ooh, even
So
Bama, huh?
yeah, it don't matter, dude. Georgia's a NFL team versus young boys playing pickup
Okay.
kids. So I think Georgia takes that one easily. Alabama just gets embarrassed.
Well, if Bama can get the upset, we'll have to clip that right there. That'll
Oh,
be we'll have to clip you on that.
ugh.
Uh, and welcome back to another episode of your favorite couch potatoes. I am your host Jay Cubs, joined this week by Just Feisty again, and we got another great weekend of football to recap. But before we get into that, let's get into some sports news around the world.
I'm excited. This is gonna be a good freaking podcast episode. Some good stuff
I
going.
know it. I know how excited you are. Like I said, before we get to football, let's talk about some other sports. Baseball being one of them, one of our favorites. I know we're both huge into it. I'm a Red Sox fan. You're a Yankees fan, so we always, talk shit about that, of course. But not to talk about them. Rather, Shohei Ohtani, who is just a dog. I mean, we've known that since he came into the league, and now he's not even pitching because he got that Tommy John surgery a year ago, I believe. But instead, what he wanted to do is just create a new record, a new category that nobody else has even done, which
Right?
is 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in a single season. Wow. What a dog, man. And it almost begs the question, should he even pitch next year when he gets healthy, or like just keep doing this, because this seems definitely good enough for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I when I first heard about this, I thought it was like I don't know, one of those unrealistic things that could be achieved, and he seems to make it look really easy. So, and I would say honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Like this is a good thing that's happening for him, and if they like what he's doing, why go back to pitching, right? Like he's killing it, and I would continue doing what he's doing instead of trying to push on to something else. Like if they need him as a pitcher, sure, put it back in. But if they don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, baby.
Yes, sir. All right, well, let's get into the basketball world. We have some sad news. No more Woj bombs. They are officially done after Adrian Wojnarowski retires from his position as an insider for the NBA for ESPN. He's going to be the GM of St. Bonaventure men's basketball. I've never heard of him, but yeah, I guess he's out of the game. I don't know. I feel like Shams Charania has kind of taken over recently, and I don't know if
Yeah,
it kind of forced his way out or just was ready for him to go out or something. But it's definitely we grew up on the Woj bombs, so no more of those, sadly.
yeah. I mean, you look at trade deadlines, you see all the free agent stuff that's happening every year. You're like just itching for Twitter for him to just drop something real, and you always knew it was a good source too, so like you could trust it. So I'm a little sad by this. It's almost like TNT crew,
Yeah,
breaking, breaking our hearts and not being able to come back together. It's another like it just seems like everything's kind of turning upside down and inside out for the NBA. But hey, good for him. Maybe this is a good opportunity for him to try on a different adventure and get into the GM world. He actually would be a really good GM to be honest, because he has so many good relationships, and I could
right.
just see him doing really well with that and just kind of making his way up to the NBA.
Yeah, that is a great point, and also a great point is that the NBA is just changing right in front of our eyes so much with all, especially on the outside looking in. So that is
Right.
definitely crazy. Well, we didn't get this as a Woj bomb, but it is big news. Joel Embiid secures a 3-year, $193 million extension with the 76ers, which I think makes him a top 3 paid player in the NBA. So I know Philly fans are definitely excited about this. He's been their guy. A lot of Twitter memes because he still hasn't made it past the second round of the NBA playoffs. So saw a lot about that, but obviously I think this is a good signing for the 76ers. I feel like he's been a little more healthy as of late. And if you can continue to build around him, then he's definitely a guy that you can, win something with as long as you can build around with.
Oh no, for sure. And I think the interesting too is like interesting part is like that you say like if he can stay healthy, right? Like when he's healthy, he's dropping 40 bombs, 50 bombs. Like half of their points is coming from his offensive efficiency.
Oh yeah.
I'm still a little salty that he went and bounced around from Cameroon to France to the US to win a gold medal, but it is what it is. Everybody wants to win a gold medal, and if you got the Marvels versus DC, I'm going with Marvel. So good for him. I think he had a great summer. He proved that he is the guy and well deserved on this contract. I think that the 76ers believe in what he's doing. And like I said, if he's healthy, half of their offense is coming through from him, or actually coming from him or going through him. So
Right.
just another great opportunity for the 76ers to lock down their guy and continue to build that, and hopefully maybe get through the first or second round playoffs, because that sounds like a curse. Maybe he needs another Marvel team assembled over there. Oh,
might need a little bit more to get to those conference finals, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
good for the 76ers for sure.
For sure. Now moving on to a kind of a bittersweet, kind of sad moment. Derrick Rose. I love that guy, man. I've been a big fan of Derrick Rose. I've always a big fan of Derrick Rose. It's been announced that he is being cut from the Grizzlies, so I'm a little sad by it. But I think a team will pick him up. I think he finally started to get not to his MVP form, but like you could see that he was loving the game again. He had good offensive efficiency, and he's just a good veteran guy to have in your locker room, right? And so I'm sure he's gonna be able to find another team or just end up retiring. Regardless, I still give hats to him and his roses because Derrick Rose changed the game. If it wasn't for
Oh yeah.
Derrick Rose, I don't think Westbrook would have been what he is. So
Yeah, definitely sad. The only time I've ever not rooted for Derrick Rose when he dropped 50 on the Jazz when he played for the Timberwolves. I just wanted him to freaking stop that night, but he kept going. That was also obviously an awesome moment for him. I think obviously a big thing for him is staying healthy. That's what derailed his career from the
yep,
stardom into what he is, and I think he only appeared in 24 games last year.
yeah.
So not the availability that you want, but hopefully just resting up, healing up, and like you said, he can provide for a team, be that veteran presence that can
Sure.
help maybe a younger team or an up and coming team get to where they need to be.
Or even a player personnel kind of guy, like you have him go with even if the Grizzlies end up signing him back as a player personnel. Oh, imagine what he could do for John Morant. Like John Morant's that same type of player. And imagine what he could do for John Morant as a player personnel or as a coach. That'd be really good that would be a really good opportunity for the Grizzlies to get more that veteran presence and the guy that's that that John Morant could look up to and learn from. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with him. Another bomb, not a Woj bomb, but uh, the Raptors finally are decided to retire Vince Carter's number 15 jersey. This is the first player in franchise to have his number retired, so this is huge, right? Like the Raptors are a well-known, established organization. I'm glad it's not Kawhi Leonard because f that guy.
I was gonna
Um,
ask. He's the one that brought the title to Toronto, so should they give him retire his number two, maybe a statue
mm,
or something?
maybe later on. I don't know about a statue. Let's not go there. But like it's awesome. I love Vince Carter. You know Vince Carter because of all his dunks and his freakish athletic ability. One of my favorite moments from Vince Carter was his dunk where he like literally stuck his own elbow in there and just hung
Hmm.
in there. And so like I think this is a great thing, and I love to celebrate a player like that who meant so much to that organization. And it's a good thing it's not Kawhi Leonard. Like I said, I'd give DeMar DeRozan one before I gave Kawhi Leonard one.
Quite, yeah, definitely. Tracy McGrady, another name you might think of in there. But yeah, Vince Carter, I think definitely deserving of this. I feel like him and McGrady are the first people you think of when you think of the Raptors and what, put them on the map. So
Sure.
really glad to see this. Love Vince Carter, both on and off the court. I think he's been great in media as well. So good for him, man. Good for him. A good
Yeah,
move by
I
the
mean,
Raptors.
it's just one of those things that you love to see when a great player like that means so much to a franchise. So, and speaking of franchise, holy crap, man. Asia Wilson, man. That's a franchise player that needs a statue and her jersey retired while she's playing, actually. First player to ever have that happen. But she
There you
wins
go.
her third MVP, and this is her second anonymous, can't say that word,
Unanimous.
unanimous MVP in the league, in the women's league history. So that's so awesome, man. She just is dominating this. Like it just makes it look. She just makes it look so easy for her. She's dropping a 40, 50 bound bomb games every other week. I feel like, and so why wouldn't you not? Give that person an MVP every year because she's just making it look easy. Nobody else can compete with her. So I love that. I'm happy for her. Congrats to her. I think that this is one of the goats of that league
Yes.
and the women NBA. And so I think that, like I said, if they could just retire her jersey right now and get her a statue.
Yeah, she is a baller, no doubt. I think she's at the top of her game right now, and
Yep.
yeah, like you said, unanimous MVP. I think Curry was the only one to do that in the NBA.
Yep.
And like that's hard to do. There's so many great players, in both leagues, and so for her to just kind of be dominant like this, and on the Aces, who are the defending champions too, so things are looking up for them. Doesn't look like she's slowing down right now.
You know who's on the Aces, right?
Who's that?
Oh my girl. Nah, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Not gonna say that out there. I'm just kidding. No, that's a great organization. Like I just feel like they do really well with picking the right players and putting them in the right place. And they're looking to repeat, so I'm all for that. Las Vegas knows how to throw a party, so good for
Yes,
them.
sir.
And if she continues to dominate and she wins MVP for the second year in the NBA in their WNBA finals, I'm all for it. So,
There you
but
go.
my boy, let's get into it. This is the
Let's do
exciting
it.
moment now.
Yes,
Those are
sir.
all some great news, and it's good to have a little bit of different
Yeah.
opinions. But let's get into the opinionated section. NCAA, baby. So
Yes,
Reggie
sir.
Bush, let's just get right into it. Reggie Bush, man, he's been on the headline lately a lot. Within like the last couple years with his Heisman stuff, with the NIL deals, or as I say, HNIL deals.
Yes, sir.
He is suing actually the NCAA, the USC, and also Pac-12 for NIL deal compensation. So this has been like coming around a lot, where a lot of players now are suing NCAA because of how much they punish those players, and now it's just like free nilly dilly. Everybody gets a compensation that's at least the top 10 player on the team. But we talked about, I think, a few months ago, where those Michigan guys are all coming after Michigan and NCAA just for NIL deal as well. So it's just part of the game. I am not a big fan of it. You guys know me. I'm very passionate about this NIL deal thing. I think it's not fair for players to get paid millions of dollars and also get their schooling paid for. That scholarship could be going to like three or four other kids that actually need it. But at the same time, I'm all for, them getting paid for their likeness and image, because that's generating a lot of money. And I think NCAA, somebody needs to go in and do checks and balances over there, because they're just a monopoly and they get to do whatever they want. But good for him. I think that I support this just because the way that they treated him,
Yeah.
um, and the way that they pushed that agenda so much on like punishing players, and now it's just like it's part of it. It's part of recruiting. If you can't pay a player $1 million, he's not coming into your to your campus or even doing anything to play on your team. So yeah,
Yeah, and like I said, we talked about this where the way the NIL universe is going now, you're going to have all these players, and Reggie Bush is possibly the best example of that, where he was, box office just insane while he was at USC. So all the money that they made off of him, and I can't imagine we haven't really had. I know we've had all kinds of special players since his time, but Reggie Bush was seriously on a different level.
right.
So I get this, and yeah, it's this whole thing now. Now that everybody else is getting NIL, you're going to have these things coming back, and like you said, if anybody deserves it, it's Reggie Bush. So be interesting to see how this whole world pays out. This specific lawsuit pays out, and yeah, just kind of see what goes on with that.
And it might be like spotting the light for a lot of other players to come out and go after. I think, like you said, if depending on how this lawsuit goes, a lot of other players might come out and say, you know what, my turn.
Yeah,
NCAA made
right.
a lot of money off of me. Now my turn to get money back from them. And if that's the case, I think, like I said, somebody needs to go in and checks and balance those people because they're able to make so much money off these players, but they're not, faring that they're not sharing that revenue to the players. That's where I'm with the NIL deals. But then again, like I said, it's just the whole point of like school paid for and also making a really good salary money. So, and not everybody on the team gets it right too. So,
Exactly.
but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Maybe may start something that it's gonna have a chain reaction for sure.
Yep. Well, let's continue on with some more Pac 12 drama because it is popping off right now. As we talked about last week, they got four new members and added a fifth, like we kind of all expected, Utah State in the Pac 12 now. So good for them. Well, joining in 2026 along with everybody else. But
Yeah,
couple of other things is there was other schools approached Memphis, Tulane, and the University of South Florida, but they are all going to be remaining in the ACC. The Pac-12 expressed interest in those schools joining. They said nope, we're staying. And then another team being rumored is UNLV, which I would definitely expect for them to join as well. I think it
yeah,
makes sense. But this most interesting thing I saw come out today, Pac-12 is suing the Mountain West Conference over a poaching penalty,
mm,
saying that the Mountain West Conference is trying to impose on the Pac-12. So what that is basically, so with some backstory, when Oregon State and Washington State were the only two teams remaining in the Pac-12, they had to scramble to fill their schedule because they didn't have any conference games, right?
yeah,
So they made a deal with the Mountain West to play games against each other for this year. And apparently, in that deal, there was language where the Mountain West, if a Pac-12 or a Mountain West team wanted to leave for the Pac-12, then the Pac-12 would have to pay the Mountain West Conference a fee of $10 million for that team, and then if it were to become multiple teams, it gets $500,000 more each time. So if two teams, the second team, they have to pay 10.5, 11, and so forth.
right.
Um, and the Pac 12 is saying that this is an imposed this so let me read the quote. The Mountain West Conference imposed this poaching penalty at a time when the Pac 12 was desperate to schedule football games for its two remaining members and had little leverage to reject this naked restraint on competition. So basically, what's going on is the Pac 12 right now is being asked for a total of over $55 million with those seven teams that have left to the Mountain West. And then Pac 12 is basically saying, this is unfair of you guys to ask. So we're going to throw in this lawsuit. Boy, so just a lot to unpack there. So I'll let you get off with your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like the Mountain West took advantage of a vulnerable conference, right? So it feel bad for the Pac-12. We love the Pac-12. We have history with the Pac-12, and for something like this, for $55 million, like that's insane. Like they didn't even have enough money to make the TV rights for TV agreements, and that's why everybody left. And also because that commissioner sucks and needs to be let go of. but that's beyond me. Um, because you could have saved that conference. You could have had the conference that we had. We could have had amazing teams, and you possibly could have even added more to it. So, I think that like I feel bad for the Pac-12 conference, but at the same time, I'm like, it just shows another what this commissioner has been doing for this conference. And you know what? Sometimes you think you're making really good decisions, and you end up getting ends up biting you in the butt. So that's just a prime example of it. So I think it's still unfair for them to have to pay $55 million. There's just no way that they're going to be able to come up with that kind of money. At least I don't think so. Um, but I'm interested to see how it turns out. This is a story that like I was following along with it too. Um, but yeah, I'm just kind of curious to see how this ends up working out. But yeah,
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on the side of, I guess I understand why the Mountain West would do this, because I feel like you understand that even when that happened, like when they made the agreement to do the scheduling thing, I think even before that, when the Pac-12 kind of dissipated, lost all their teams, they're still a stronger, more prominent conference than the Mountain West is.
yeah,
And I think that that's why the Mountain West put this in there to, kind of save them, especially now you're going to these teams, you're going to play them every week. And there's everybody, big brass from, everybody up there upstairs, and then head coaches, all these things that are going to be talking. People are going to be talking at these
right,
games. So I kind of feel like I understand the Mountain West from that point of view where, yeah, we kind of understand that if this happens, you might take our teams away,
yeah.
and we should get something for that. So I understand that kind of like aspect. I don't know, with the money, I don't know enough about that, how much it exactly works, but I think that they should get some form of compensation, especially when you save the Pac-12 by being like, hey, here's our teams that you can play against, but like we kind of know what you're going to do. You're going to try to save the conference and take our teams because it's kind of the best option for you. So
Yeah,
I kind of understand the Mountain West from this perspective.
I think that like ultimately what I would have done is waive the 500K for every team and just pay the $10 million. At least you can
Per
say,
team.
yeah, I would waive the 500K per team and just give them the $10 million. Like that's
Okay, for each team that joins $10 million.
oh, I thought that was just $10 million just for the
No, no. So yeah, $10 million. Like, so the first team to leave, let's say it was, I think Fresno State was one of the four, and then the one of the other ones, what, Boise State,
yeah.
they cost 10.5 million, and then the
Oh,
third team costs 11. So it
right,
goes
right,
up
but
by five
it's
hundred
yeah, yeah,
thousand
okay.
each
So
time.
it's 10 million fee first time and then
Uh huh.
500K after that.
500K
K
in
for each
addition to
team.
another 10 million each time.
Oh, heck no. That makes no sense.
That's why it was over 55 million now.
Oh, it was like, no, no. Okay, no. Yeah, that's just ridiculous to me. I would have just said, yeah, we'll give you the 10 million, the one-time fee, and then maybe
Yeah,
we'll
but
talk about the 500 per team. That's just like 10 million per team is like that's
are
insane.
you sure though? Because these football programs are very valuable.
But
You
they're
know what I
still
mean? So for
smaller
that to lose,
schools.
they're still smaller, but the Pac-12 is supposed to be going to make them bigger. And
Yeah.
if this Mountain West loses these teams, then instead of the Pac-12 falling apart, it's the Mountain West that falls apart. So this is a way to save their ass basically, instead of the Pac-12 having to save
Yeah.
theirs.
I mean, um I can definitely see the Mountain West trying to fight for this and trying to make a an argument towards it. Like obviously you have all these smaller schools that are in there, Colorado State, Hawaii, Nevada, San Diego State, and then I think Utah State, Wyoming, right? So like San Diego State is a good program. Boise State is a good program. UNLV is a good program. Um, but I just don't see them having the equity to like for them to be like, okay, they're bringing in something big for the Pac-12, but I just don't see the Pac-12 paying $10 million additional. per team.
Yeah,
Like
which
that's a
is what they're
lot of
doing,
money.
right? That's what they're saying. This is unfair, so that's why they're filing this lawsuit over that. So we'll have to see. I think we're on different kind of sides of this, so we'll have to see how the lawsuit goes out and see who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it's insane that they would want that kind of money. But at the end of the day, we'll, like you said, we'll have to see who ends up being on the top of it. Lawyers, who has the best lawyers, right? So,
Yep.
anyways, let's talk about another big story. We'll have to figure out what ends up happening with that. But another big story that has kind of got me on the downhill for Colorado. So Colorado ends up beating Baylor after a 43-yard Hail Mary to tie the game, and then they force a fumble by Travis Hunter to win it and stop the Bears from scoring. Ryan. So
What
man,
a
there's a
game,
lot to
boy.
unpack this, right? It was a good game. It was a really good game. But
Hmm.
then the thing that got to me was Mr. Mr. not Barry,
Barry
Mr.
Sanders.
Sanders freaking going up to the press conference and saying, "Do you believe us now? Do you believe us now?" And like he made it sound like he just won and beat freaking Alabama. Like
Right.
you barely beat a Baylor team that's not even that good. Um, and then you start to talk up your son and say, "Oh, you do you believe in him now? Are you gonna stop that?" Like, oh my gosh, it made me lose the hope that I had for Colorado. I'll still support Sanders and his sons, and uh, but this is just a lot to unpack. I don't think that they're as good as I thought they would be. I think that they've improved. I think he's done a lot for the program. But what happens when his sons get drafted? Is he leaving? Oh, I 100% think so.
Right. We talked about that. And hey, like I said, it was a hell of a game. I was watching it. Rooting for Baylor, definitely, if I'm being honest. But it was, yeah, that Hail Mary was crazy.
Yeah,
Guy slipped down, defender slipped down, and allowed the receiver to catch it. And then, yeah, Travis Hunter. Thing I've said too is Travis Hunter is a dog. I actually like Travis Hunter. I
yep,
feel like he doesn't talk as much, he doesn't do as much. I know he's got some like podcasts and stuff he does, but
yeah,
I just find the stuff that Dion does is you're creating these narratives all on your own. Where like even guys like me, Wes have not been fans. He'll just come out and be like, everybody in the world is against him. Not
yeah,
like you're one of the most popular teams in the country. Do you have a certain um, part of the college football fan base that isn't a fan of it, like me and Wesley? Yes, but
yes,
like the thing is at the end of the day, I'm not really worried about Colorado until we play them
yeah,
later this year. But the thing is, dude, like you said, Feist, you beat Baylor, who is a respectable program at best. They're 2-2 on the season now.
yeah,
But I was on this podcast just a few weeks ago being so pissed that we beat them by 11,
yep,
and they scored 12 points against us.
yeah,
And I felt like we almost gave that game up. I was pissed about it, about an 11-point win, and then you guys need to go to overtime to beat them at home, and it's just crazy. So I just do your thing. You can be hype, you can be Deion Sanders, you can be primetime. I get it, but why are you just creating these narratives? Because the thing is, all you're doing every time I see one of those videos, it just gets me more mad. Like if there weren't those videos and they were just going out there, like Shador did the watch thing, it'd be like kind of funny to make fun of them or something. But
yeah.
now it's just like, okay, this is actually getting annoying, dude.
Too much for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it just becomes where to the point you're doing everything for attention, and then how much of that is going to affect Shador Sanders when he's going to the NFL next year, right? I don't know if Shiloh's going next year, but Shador is ready. He's going to be a top 10, if not top 5 pick, right? Like somebody's going to need
yeah,
his player and personnel. Um, but like you said, man, it's making it to the point where it's not even enjoyable to watch. I was excited for it. I was like, prime time, let's go. Dion's just gonna do his thing, and it's gonna be fun to watch it. And now it's just becoming too much, and I'm kind of sick of it. I think I'm kind of like over it and trying to tell them, bro, you need to chill. You didn't beat Alabama,
yeah.
you beat Baylor.
Right. And I think it's going on the other end where you've gotten all this hype, you've gotten all this attention, and you
Yeah,
got Colorado to a point. Because that's what I've always said. You know what? through all the things, he definitely made Colorado a better program. I think they only won 4 games in his first year, but that was 3 more games than they won the year before, and
Yep.
probably, matched their total the past 2 or 3 years, whatever. Nobody thought about Colorado. Now everybody thinks about Colorado, right? So
Yeah.
you did that. And that was awesome. You very clearly had some weaknesses, and I think they addressed a few, but they haven't really addressed another. And I think that this is just going to start to hurt these Colorado players, Shador in particular. I think Travis Hunter is going to be good enough. He's just such a good enough prospect the way he plays on both sides of the ball and everything. But I feel like a lot of people are not going to view Shador as a real leader, like I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago with Wes. So I think it's just starting to, yeah, go on the other end. If you just
Yeah.
dialed it back a little bit, talked about, how great your team, and I'm not saying he has to do it like everybody else does. I get that he's prime time. It's just, yeah,
Too
the
much.
you believe in us now, you believe in us now, dude. It was Baylor. Chill out. You know what? The only person that it matters who believes in you is you and your team.
Yep.
So like let's just leave it at that, right? But it's always more with them. So
Oh, for
well,
sure.
let's move on to some ranked teams, the teams that matter, okay? Let's start with the top. Still number one, Texas. So Quentin Ewers remained out for this game, but it was no problem really. Arch Manning got the start, led them to a 51-3 win over UL Monroe. Again, not that great of an opponent, so nothing really to worry about here. We'll have to see if Quentin Ewers is ready for next week.
Yeah, I love this game just because it proved that Arch Manning is ready. He came in the last game, proved himself. This just was another game where he just kept killing it. And I know that UNL more, however you say
UL Monroe.
Monroe is not that good, and they only scored 3 points. But Texas continues to show that they're ready for the big dogs, and it's going to be
Mhm.
interesting these next couple of weeks. And now that Quinn Ewers is going to be ready for those big battles, I think that either way, whoever they go with, they have two great quarterbacks, and they can continue to use. But I love Texas. I think this is fun to see them being successful again. My boy Kevin Durant's from there. That guy.
Well,
uh,
did you see, like you said, Quentin Ewers was, I think at the start of the season, he was one of the Heisman front runners on
yep.
betting odds and everything. And now Arch Manning has
Is
better Heisman odds than
yeah,
him.
yeah. That's how
Like,
quick
that's
popularity
crazy.
changes up quick things, and so it's gonna be interesting to see what they end up doing. And does Arch Manning continue to play, and they go with him and say, "Hey, sorry, viewers, he just is playing really well, and it's working right now." But do you do that to a
I
guy
don't
that got
know.
you to this point and he's NFL ready? I don't
Right, and
know.
you're gonna screw up his NFL career, I feel
Yeah.
like, if you do that. So it's and the thing that I've heard, the Mannings talk about is that Arch wanted to go there. He knew Quentin Ewers was going to be there,
Yep.
and he knew he might be a backup for a year or two, and that's what he wanted. So
Yeah.
I really think that because his name is Manning, that's why he's getting the hype, he's getting the odds and everything. But I really think it's in Texas' best interest to stick with Ewers. And
Yep.
like I think I said last week, you got a guy next year.
Yep.
You got a guy. So I think you stick with Ewers, the veteran, especially when you get to those playoff games. Yeah, Arch is looking really good against UL Monroe and Louisiana, whoever they had last week. So that's my opinion. Is I think they should stick with Ewers, and Arch will be there, and he'll be ready to pop off next season.
For sure. I think I couldn't agree with you more.
Awesome. Well, let's move along. Let's go through the next top five. So Georgia was idle, stays at number two. Ohio State beat Marshall 49-14. Alabama's at four. They were also idle. But a thing to note is we got us a matchup this week. Best matchup of the week. Definitely Georgia and Alabama squaring off this Saturday.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to watch that game. I don't know. I think Georgia's going to pull it out. That's who I would probably go with, just because they got their coach. Alabama's still got their first year in was Kalen DeBoer from Washington. So we'll have to see how that game ends up.
And I think that the also thing to mention this is I said this last week. It don't matter who Georgia plays. They're an NFL team.
Ooh, even
So
Bama, huh?
yeah, it don't matter, dude. Georgia's a NFL team versus young boys playing pickup
Okay.
games. So I think Georgia takes that one easily. Alabama just gets embarrassed.
Well, if Bama can Bama can get the upset. We'll have to clip that right there. That'll
Oh,
be we'll have to clip you on that.
ugh.
But let's move along. So Tennessee goes up one spot into the top 5. They're balling, dude. They beat Oklahoma 25-15, and honestly, watching that game, I feel like it was not even that close. Like it really seemed like Tennessee dominated that game to from start to beginning. So they definitely look like they can be serious contenders in the college football playoffs once we get there.
I don't know about that. They haven't impressed me enough, and that 10% fee is just still not breaking it.
Just not sitting with you the right
Just
way.
not, yeah. So it's just not kicking it with me in the right way, and I'm gonna kick them to the curb. I don't care for them, to be honest.
Oh, jeez, man, what did Tennessee do to you?
I'm harsh,
Did
dude.
you watch that game? They looked pretty dominant against Oklahoma, in my
Oklahoma.
opinion.
That's it. Oklahoma. Come
Hey,
on.
they were ranked 15. Okay, it
Oklahoma
was the
State.
college
Kick
football
us
game day was there. Come on.
out. 10% is not sitting right with me.
All right. Well, Old Miss swap spots with Tennessee. They go down to 6. They beat Georgia Southern 52-13. So just a product of not having a quality opponent there. And then your boys and your boy Mario Cristobal in Miami, they get up one after beating South Florida 50-15. Cam Ward balling out again as per usual. So yeah, you watch out
That's
for the Miami boys.
that's Westbrook's, or not Westbrook. That's Wes's favorite guy right now. He keeps talking about how well he's balling now and that he should be a Heisman front runner
I
and
think
Heisman
so,
winner.
especially with Ewers going down, dude. And he had 404 yards, 3 touchdowns in this game. He is really thriving in Miami, so
Yeah.
love to see that for them.
F Mario Cristobal. I have to do that every episode. F that guy. He didn't go see his grandma.
He didn't go see his grandma. All right. Well, hey, jumping up one spot is your Oregon Ducks after your dreaded bye week that you were talking about last week. I know you weren't super excited for the timing of this, but hey, maybe it's good for to get those boys rested. I did see that UCLA was in a close one against LSU, at least for a little bit. So maybe it's not a walkover, but could be a dominant win for you guys, especially coming off a bye.
Yeah, easy win for us this week for us to move up to one. Um, Next week's gonna be
Up 2
interesting.
1.
Yeah, up to one. No, up one.
Oh, I thought you were saying after you beat UCLA, you should
No,
be
no, no,
number 1.
no, no,
Okay,
no.
I misheard. I
I
was like,
said
okay,
easy
all
win.
right.
Easy win for us to move up to one. Like
Gotcha.
move up one.
Yep.
Because we didn't do anything and it was perfect. I think it was good just because it gave us time to like rebuild that chemistry I was talking about. I think they had a very dominant performance against those Beavers. It's gonna be interesting to see. Do they just build off of that, or does this bye week kind of slow them down and UCLA doesn't end up. UCLA does the same thing that Boise State and Idaho were able to do, which was give us a game and make us run for our money. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I think that like Oregon's good where they're at. I don't think that they're any like better or worse than Miami or Ole Miss. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think they really need to move into that top five because I don't think they can compete with any of those top four, maybe five teams yet.
Right. We'll have to see when they play a real opponent. Like we said, Ohio State coming up in a few weeks. So,
Yeah.
all right, moving right along. Up to number 9 is Penn State after they beat Kent State 56-0. So, nothing crazy for them there. But then we get to number 10, baby, Utah. Oh boy. I talked about we need to make a statement win, and that's what we did. That is exactly what we did. We went into Oklahoma State, beat them 22-19.
Yeah.
Now, the game should not have been this close, for one. It was 22-3, I think, with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So it really kind of unraveled for us there. But honestly, you go into Oklahoma State. We talked about this when we did our predictions, and a lot of you guys were like, "Wow, 11-1, that's crazy." And I'm like, "Yeah, I understand, but a lot of our tougher games are at home, so that's why I give us the edge there." And this was the one. This was the one loss that I gave them, and we came out of there with a dub. So I could not be more excited. Let's go, Utes! And even more impressive, we do it without Cam Rising, who's
Yeah.
out for his second consecutive week with his hand injury. It again, it's game time decision, and a lot of people were saying. I think it was even Kirk Herbstreit was saying, Cam Rising plays, Utah wins. If he doesn't, Oklahoma State wins. But man, we just dominated, and a big name in this game is Ollie Gordon, right?
Yep.
He's been getting all the hype. He's the one of the best running backs, if not the best. Well, he had 48 yards, and Mr. Mekhi Bernard has a career high 182 rushing yards, almost went for 200,
Damn.
and just freaking killed it. I mean, he broke off a few big runs and really was just dominating the line of scrimmage. And what really helped with us too is dominating the time of possession. That was a super crazy thing, and I think that's something that was a big contrast in styles versus Utah and Oklahoma State, because Oklahoma State goes so fast. And this was kind of Utah's like, hey, this is how we play football. I know we're in the Big 12 now, but we're not changing. Like, we're going to play Utah football. And so, yeah, that was awesome. Keithy had a day, 2 touchdowns. He had a rushing Wildcat one, and then a really disrespectful receiving touchdown where he caught it, stared at the guy behind him, and literally walked like 7, 8 yards into the end zone. But hey, the the players that I want to shout out the most is the defense. That Utah defense was fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was 22-3 until the very end of the fourth quarter, where things kind of unraveled a little bit. And a lot of good things about that, like I said, was the time of possession. That defense was able to stay fresh and really suffocate Oklahoma State, getting sacks, getting to the quarterback, not allowing guys to get open. And yeah, it was just awesome, man. 4-0, let's go, beating a huge Big 12 opponent in one of the toughest places to play.
For
I
sure.
could not be more thrilled about this. And again, without Cam Rising. So if we can get him back, I still think he's the better quarterback. Obviously, he's more prepared. We're a better team with him on the field. But I'm really impressed with Isaac Wilson. He continues to get better
Every
each
game.
game. He
Yeah.
definitely looked like a rookie at times, or a freshman, I should say, but he's improving, and he made a lot of huge plays with his legs as well. Really saved us on some fourth downs, some third downs, and everything. So, yeah, could not be more excited. And here we are in the top 10 in these AP poll, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, I think you knew this was going to be a tough game. I think we all knew this was going to be a tough game. This is one of the games I projected for the Utes to lose. I think I was more skeptical. I think I said you guys would have lost two or three more.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a huge win for you guys, especially to do it without Cam Rising. And it almost feels like they're playing that game again where they're like, oh, he's going to play. Oh, he's not going to play. Oh, he's going to play. Oh, he's not going to play. Like I get so sick of that. I'm like, just tell him he's not gonna play or he's out. Like there's no
Yeah.
point in like playing that back and forth game. But it
Well,
was
they do it. They do it so the other team isn't as prepared,
prepared for sure.
I think so.
Yeah,
And the fact that they don't, that's why but I still don't like it. That's why I say I wish it was like the NFL, where they had a certain deadline. Because even with players that are questionable in the NFL,
for
I think
sure.
you have to know if they're playing. I'm not sure what it is, but usually get the notification with it like an hour or so before the game starts.
Right.
And with Cam, like even the announcers, I'm listening to it, and they're like, "Yeah, but he's in pads. We don't know. We'll have to see after this break who's the starter for Utah." And that's pretty wild to do.
Yeah, and that's the big thing for me is like I know that Cam Rising, that team thrives under Cam Rising. But at the end of the day, they did it without him. Isaac Wilson, like you said, is looking really well every game. He looks like he's improving really well. He's able to read the defense better, and then that defense just continues to be the defense we knew that Utah would have,
Hmm.
which is a great defense. And so, I think that, like I said, this is a huge statement win for them. It's gonna be interesting what happens now going down because all of us gave this as your guys' loss, and you guys already beat us. So now we're looking at who's the next team that could beat them. And we were talking about BYU, not happening, but you know Wesley
Yeah,
was
we'll
here,
have
he will
to
say otherwise, but, like,
we'll have to
they're
see.
looking
I
good
know.
too, so
Yep. We got a tough test against Arizona. I know they lost to Kansas State pretty bad a couple weeks ago, but they beat us last year. We are at home. We got dark mode activated this week. Finally, Utah gets a night game. I'm excited for that. But yeah, I think that like on paper, that was our toughest test. I think if you look at it, and like there's a lot of tough teams left. BYU being a rivalry game, and like I said, we'll have to get into it later. But and I think even like Iowa State, we have who's ranked. So there's it's not a cakewalk. It's not by no means is the season over.
for
There's
sure,
not a clear, easy pathway to the Big 12, but it's a huge win, huge statement win, like I said, that you can build off of.
for
The
sure.
fact that you went into Oklahoma State and did that. So
Yeah,
let's freaking go, baby. Utah is here. I'm excited they did this. And yeah, let's freaking go. I'm excited to see what happens next.
sure.
All right, well, let's continue on. Missouri fell 4 spots because they barely beat Vanderbilt 30-27 in overtime. And if anybody knows anything, Vanderbilt is not very well known for being a great football program.
Football
So
program for
yeah,
sure.
Missouri. I know I was talking about Missouri, kind of like not getting enough hype. I still think they're probably good, but yeah, that's definitely going to lose you some spots. So I get that. And then at number 12, jumping up 6 spots, your favorite feisty Michigan Wolverines after a big time dub beating USC 27-24.
Yeah, that was a really good game overall for both teams. It was a back and forth kind of game. Um, the part where I kind of don't understand is why Michigan is moving 6 spots. I know that USC was ranked, but
Yeah, they were
like
ranked 11 before
they're
this.
kind of like I don't know. That just seems like a huge jump for me, and it's Michigan, right? It's a big school, and they're gonna have that hype with them. But they're still continuing to try to find their identity. I think that they've definitely lost their identity. They don't have that quarterback or anything either, and so. But it's good to see them pull a big one out, like, and to win it like the way they did it. I love it. I think that this is just trying to show them that they're trying to build off of the losses that they had. They've learned from it, and they're trying to find that identity now. So we'll have to see
Yeah,
what ends up happening with the rest of the season because they have some tough games too coming up.
definitely. I was trying to look at what USC. Oh, that's right. They beat LSU week 1. So that was what kind of shot them up the AP poll. So, definitely I think a respectable win, and one that's going to get you when you get a ranked win, you're going to get, big jumps, especially when it was that high of a ranked win.
Yeah,
But yeah, Michigan has had the up and down season for sure to start, and I think that their losses might mean a little bit more than that USC win, but hey, you had to beat USC. It was a tough team, so they're definitely going to get some love there.
yeah,
But then, so speaking of USC, they dropped 2 after the loss. They're right below Michigan at 13. And then we talked about a little bit earlier LSU. So they move up 2 spots to 14 after they beat UCLA 34-17. Like I said, they were tied 17-17 at the half. So it was looking kind of close, but that defense stepped up in the second half and was allowed LSU to run away with it 34-17. Louisville gets up 4 spots after beating Georgia Tech 31-19.
nice.
And then Notre Dame goes up 1 after beating Miami of Ohio 28-3. And that sets up for a big matchup, Louisville and Notre Dame next week as well. So that'll be another one we'll have to keep our eyes on. And then moving right along, Clemson jumps up 4 spots after beating NC State 59-35. So quite the statement win for those boys. And like I said, Iowa State moving up 2 spots. They beat Arkansas State 52-7. Illinois had a big win, beat Patrick Mahomes wannabe in Nebraska 31-24 in overtime. And then do you have any thoughts on
Yeah,
this game?
I love that game just because I was just gonna say he definitely is trying to be a Patrick Mahomes kind of guy. Um, the thing that I loved about it was a back and forth game, and I watched it. It was the Friday night game. Um, he does look really good. Like he is a good quarterback. He's smart. He can move out of the pocket, but Illinois just looked like they were ready to fight that whole game, and they just kept fighting, and they end up pulling away at the end. And it was interesting just because I wanted to see what the hype was about with Nebraska and this Patrick Mahomes wannabe, but it turned out to be a really, really good game. It was a fun game to watch, and for Illinois to pull it out, that even makes it better. So good for them.
Right. Yeah. Well, moving right along, the Oklahomas both dropped 6 spots to 20 and 21 after
Coincidence.
their losses, which I don't know. You're looking at the teams above them. They both lose to very respectable programs. Top 10 now. Both of them are top 10. Tennessee top 5. So I think maybe a little bit too much of a drop there, but also looking at the other teams, I don't know. I think that they're probably better than maybe Illinois, Iowa State, maybe not Clemson, Notre Dame. We'd have to see, but it's a little bit. But then, oh man, I think game of the week, honestly, and I hate to say it's I think I actually feel something coming up inside right now, but BYU, who was obviously unranked, but like we said, 3-0, destroyed Kansas State from the get-go.
Yeah,
And they were down 2 of their star running backs in LJ Martin and Hinkley Ropati, but they just dominated. They from beginning to end. I mean, their offense was clicking. They did exactly what they needed to do against that Kansas State quarterback, Avery Johnson. They were talking about it a lot in the pregame where this is a runner. He's not he's not a pocket passer. He's very athletic. He can do a lot with his legs.
yeah,
And if you can keep him in the pocket, you're going to have a chance. And they did that and more. It wasn't even just that they had a chance. They killed it. And when they got that punt return, dude, oh my goodness, that was insane. That's when you just know it's your day. Like
yep,
nothing can go wrong.
yep,
Nothing can go wrong for you. And so on that punt return, the punt returner for BYU muffs the punt right by the goal line. So you're like, oh, I said, wow, finally something's going Kansas State's way. I said that as soon as that happened. And he picks it back up, runs all the way from basically sideline to sideline
yep.
and takes it back to the crib for a punt return touchdown. And we had to shout out our boy Wes because he was actually in attendance for that game. And I cannot imagine what that environment was like, especially at that moment, dude. So kudos to the Cougars.
Okay, buddy, just say it out loud. It's okay.
Kudos to the Cougars.
Uh huh.
They get their largest win over a top 15 ranked team in school history. So huge, huge game. Ranked 22 now. And looking at the Big 12 standings, I'm only seeing a couple of undefeated teams, and they just
Ah,
both happen to be in Utah now.
yes,
So
sir. No,
how about that?
this was a huge statement win for them too. Like talk about another team that made a huge statement win. I think we all picked them to lose this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were all like, yeah, they start out as 3-0, and then they start going down the road of like losing a bunch of games. They're continuing to fight. They're continuing to. Here's another team that's just continuing to find their identity, and they're finding ways to win and becoming a team together. And like you said, I couldn't imagine what it would have been like to be in that atmosphere with that punt return.
Man.
And that stadium is so loud. It's always so packed, like to the rim. Like they're very loyal fans. Like they love their team down there. I know even Utah Valley people will go and watch those games. Like we had friends going over there, and so I'm sure that place was rocking. Like to see that kind of a win and see something like that. That's a huge moment, a huge boost for them, and a huge uh, boost of confidence. And now to see what happens these next like 4 or 5 games that we talked about, I'm looking like BYU might still pull it out now. Like they're making
Yeah.
me change my point of view on them and change my mind on them. So
I have to say it too. I mean, when you look, they got Baylor coming up this week, and we're looking at that game in a completely different way now,
yep,
right? Like we're not, it's not the same thing, and I might pick BYU to win that game,
right,
which is crazy to think, and then they could be 5-0, and
dude.
I don't even think Wesley didn't even have these great of expectations. I know he
Yeah.
had bigger than us, which I have to, obviously he has to, but Man, I said, and UCF, I just looked, is still undefeated. They're 3-0. But what if we had a Big 12 championship with
Undefeated
Utah and
teams.
BYU as well?
Ooh,
That would be pretty crazy. We can't be undefeated because we'll have our matchup, but
oh, you
still,
said championship. My bad.
yeah, in the championship,
Yeah.
I'm talking,
Well,
yeah.
they
So
might
not
be the
only that
same,
game
and then
against each
also the
other, but what
championship.
if?
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool.
Two
Although,
two
do hope
games
he,
the season.
that would be
Ooh,
nuts. That would be nuts.
yeah, that
But
would be
yeah,
chills.
hey, good for them. It's that Wesley, got to shout him out. I know he wanted to be on again this week. He just had some other stuff going on, but he was super upset. I was able to meet up with him, talk to him a little bit, and he's like, "Yeah, I freaking wish I could be on. I just can't." So I'm sure he'll be back next week, ready to talk all about maybe his 5-0 BYU Cougars. So we'll have to see there. To finish out the top 25, Kansas State right below them. They dropped 10 spots after being ranked 13 to 23. Fair assessment there. I think you lose to BYU in BYU, very tough place to play against a now ranked team. So I think 23 is a good spot for them. And then Texas A&M, they go up one after beating Bowling Green 26 to 20.
Nice.
And then your Boise State Broncos are now ranked at 25 after beating Portland State 56 to 14.
Yeah, that this top 20 is gonna keep changing. Or sorry, um, it's gonna be a season of like underdogs prevailing, and teams that we didn't think that were gonna do so well doing really well. At BYU, an example of that. We're here for Michigan's story to keep falling apart. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next. Every week is different. Every week there's competition that's changing, and this standing is going to be different next week, right? So
Yeah.
teams are moving up, teams are getting knocked out, and it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening next week.
100%. I can't wait for it. Like I said, dark mode night game for Utah. Those are always electric. You got a big matchup against UCLA. We'll have to see how BYU fares against Baylor. And then, yeah, like we said, got Georgia and Bama this week. So can't
Yep.
wait for that. Hopefully, Bama wins so you can get your ass clipped and we can post that everywhere. But yeah, that's college football for this week, baby. So on the other side of this break, we'll get into some professional stuff. NFL, baby. We'll catch you on the other side. And welcome back. Let's get into the NFL. And we got to start with the first game of last week, which was Thursday Night Football. And let me just say what I've been saying, the Patriots are back.
Uh-huh.
Back to where we belong.
Hold on.
Which is being the Carolina Panthers of the AFC, maybe we'll say.
He said they're back. They're
Back to
definitely
the
back.
bottom. Oh man, and I don't even know if I could say that because Panthers coming away with a big win after sitting Bryce Young. But yeah, let's get into Thursday Night Football. So before it even started, we were down big. We were down our starting left tackle and left guard that already sucked. Let's just call it how it is. And so our offensive line is even worse going into this game. And then, like we talked about, Jawan Bentley, who had that season-ending torn pec, was also out, and you could definitely see that on the other side of the ball. The Jets came out on fire. We did stop them on their first drive. It was I wouldn't say lucky. It was kind of good circumstances, but then after that, chaos ensued. And Aaron Rodgers, I know your favorite boy, Steven, he always likes to say he's a bad man. And he looked like prime Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if it's just because he's playing the Pats, but he comes out, throws two quick touchdowns. And the Pats, as far as offense goes,
Great,
nothing to talk about. In
great offense.
fact, they were averaging 1.8 yards per play in the first half. Went down 14-3 after the Jets missed a field goal, and we get the ball to start the second half. So you know what? We can maybe make this a game. It's kind of crazy that we're only down this much, but nope, just more zero offense. And it was kind of funny because I know I always talk about my college football game, but I was playing a game in there and just missed tackle after missed tackle. I had never seen anything like this. I'm 3 seasons in or something like that. And I just couldn't tackle anybody. I'd have them dead in the rights and they just slip right off. I'm like, what the hell? Well, that's exactly what I saw in this Thursday night football matchup as well. 13 missed tackles, 100 yards lost on those missed tackles.
Dang.
That's a full football field for you guys that may not know how many yards are in a football field. That's how many yards we lost on missed tackles. 14.8% missed tackle rate. And the thing that I've been dreading, I've been saying it a lot, is Drake May stepping on the field.
Mm.
And that's what happened. After, you got to credit Jacoby Brissett, not for being good, but just going out there and signing up to die pretty much. I mean, that guy, I don't know how he kept standing up, but he was getting hit. Those offensive linemen, there were plays they clearly didn't know what they were doing. You have guys in there, mixed lineups, and that guy was getting murdered. And it really scared me. And that's the exact reason why you shouldn't put Drake May in, because that's just going to happen to him. I think he ended up getting sacked a couple of times on one drive. But he came in and, he didn't look too bad. He actually led us down into the red zone, albeit against their probably second, third stringers. But that was our first trip to the red zone. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like we talked about. He's taken 30% of the first team reps, which is unheard of. He's saying he's preparing like the starter. But head coach Rod Mayo comes out. Brissett's still our number one, but it's starting to just get closer and closer. Drake May being planned to start in 2024. We got to figure out an offensive line plan. We got to figure out a different kind of offense if that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
To kind of keep him away from those kind of things, quick throws, whatever it needs to be. But boy, so 24-3 loss to the Jets on Thursday Night Football. And yeah, the Patriots are back to where we belong.
Oh. Oh. Yeah,
Yep.
they definitely are back, and they're definitely back to where they belong by sucking since the goat of all sports has left.
Yep.
It must hurt.
It
It must
it
hurt.
it it sucks. Even though I had said this season doesn't matter, and it really doesn't as far as how good or bad we do, but you still especially after you get that week 1 win, you ride into the fandom of your team and stuff, and you're excited. And we did have a good defense, running game. We got Ramondre, which is another thing. This dude got me 0.3 fantasy points after, and that was the thing too, is we stopped running the ball, and we stopped running the ball like really quick, like down 7-3 or 7-0, 14-0, whatever it was. And I'm like, you got to stick to it, man. We know you can't pass the ball. You have to have the threat of the run. And they just kind of went away from it. Ramondre, he has actually like a good run. He has a 15-yard run. Gets a face mask call after he tries to stiff arm it, and his pinky gets caught in the dude's face mask. And then he injures his pinky on that play. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But he came back in, but then fumbled. And our offensive coordinator called him out, says, you got a target on your back now, buddy. Like, you got to hold on to the ball. And that's supposed to be, our one good offensive player, the guy we're going to rely on that side of the ball. So a lot of problems coming out of this game. And who do we got? Just the defending NFC champions next week. I think we are 10.5-point underdogs. So
I'll take that
can't
underdog
wait.
points any day, bro. I'll take
Can't
that
wait.
any day.
You got any thoughts on this amazing game?
Yeah, I think it's still going to be a struggle for them. We all said this starting out with this season. And then you're right, when we saw Drake May go in, we were kind of like, ooh, don't do that. You don't want him to turn into a Bryce Young where he's struggling to do anything, and we'll get into that later on. But like, it's the confidence that you have on your first season is different from the rest of your NFL career, right? It's a
Yep.
make it or break type of confidence builder, and if they are getting Jacoby Brissett is getting destroyed like that, it's not going to be any different for Drake May. And you do not want your franchise quarterback getting hurt, something bad
Right.
happening. Continue to let him just sit, monitor their situation, like I've said, maybe week 8, maybe week 12, in those later weeks, he can
Yeah.
start, but it's just not worth it to have your starting franchise quarterback. And maybe he does come in and he turns everything around and proves us wrong, but like it's just not worth it. Those odds are against him heavily. Um, but it's kind of in a way, it's a different era, it's a different change. And when change happens, usually it's hard for people to adapt to it at first, but then usually ends up being, positive and end up
Yeah.
being a good turnaround. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with this. I hope that Drake May, like we've all said it, and that he can kind of sit and continue to learn. But at the same time, if they're ready for him, they're ready. Nobody's going to stop him at the end of the day. So, I mean,
Well, I can tell you who Patriots fans are ready for, and that's the left tackle from LSU.
yeah.
That's our eyes are kind of going already this football season. Is where can we get a left tackle, please, 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 please? So I'm kind of hoping we go like the Chargers route, like I said, get an offensive lineman, one of the top guys, really start to build that line, and then continue to get better. And gosh, this just I don't know why I have to keep doing this, but try to keep the standards up of this program. You got to give the Jets some credit. So now I've once talked good about the Cougars, and now I'm talking good about the Jets, and this football season is just slipping away really quick.
Well,
But
good for
no,
you
the
about
Jets look good. Aaron Rodgers, of course, like I said, balled out. Tyler Conklin, holy crap, that was another thing that I was getting upset about, and I feel like really showed how we missed Jawan Bentley in the middle of that field because he was just eating, and it would just be all of a sudden. I mean, like our protection would hold up. It's like, oh, we're actually maybe going to get to Aaron Rodgers, and then boom, Tyler Conklin wide open in the middle of the field. They got now a two-headed, I think, running back monster with obviously
Allen.
Brees Hall and then Allen. Yeah, Braylon Allen, who is the youngest player in the NFL with the oldest player, Aaron Rodgers, but he looks like a dog too. So
Yeah,
those Jets, I think, could be for real. I know they lost to San Francisco week 1, but obviously that's a respectable team, and now they're 2-1 and rolling. So gotta unfortunately give them some credit. I'm hoping that the Jets still are the Jets though, and we'll find a way to continue to jet
so,
it up, but
yeah,
not
dude,
looking like it right now.
yeah,
Well, that's
Aaron
enough
Rodgers is
Patriots
the guy to
talk.
do it, dude. That's for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe I'm the one that's ending the Patriots talk. I know it's always you getting annoyed with it, but I'll end it for this time, okay?
Thank goodness.
Let's move on to Detroit and Arizona, where we have a really good game where I think Arizona is surprising some teams and or some people, and just being a respectable team this year. Marvin Harrison, Kyler Murray look like a dangerous duo, but Detroit's able to bounce back from their loss against Tampa and get the 20-13 road win. Big thing I saw from this game was they went back to the running game, which makes which I think really is the foundation of that team with those two-headed monsters in Gibbs and Montgomery and that crazy offensive line. So
For
good to
sure.
see the Lions get back to the running game and establish their identity.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions are the story that you want to follow, and continue to support. Even if they're not your team, you love to see Dan Campbell
Mm-hmm.
and what he's doing to that franchise. They continue to surprise and continue to, show where they're going this season and where they've built off of from last season. And so, Um, I really don't have a whole lot to say on it. And the Cardinals, it was good to see finally Kyle Murray and Marvin Harris Jr. kind of connect together and not, all I gotta do is throw the ball, like I can't catch for him. Like that was stupid comments that Kyle Murray made, I thought. And so now it's good to see them kind of have that chemistry to come back together and bounce back on this. So, um, but you love to see it, man. Detroit
Yeah,
is the team that everybody's rooting for, regardless of who you like and who you support. So
can't not root for the Lions. Yeah,
yeah,
I'd
for
have to
sure.
agree.
Yeah, and another guy that a lot of people are rooting for right now. Let's talk about him, Jordan Love. He got hurt with it was his MCL, right?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
week
his
one.
MCL week one. Something about those Packer quarterbacks getting hurt first week. Um, but he's back on practice. There was also rumors and talks that he was gonna start that game actually against the Titans. But he ends up not starting, but he's back at practice fully. I don't know if he's in contact still or anything like that, but like he's back at practice, and it was good to see how quick of a turnaround it's been. I thought that would have been like 6 to 8 weeks, kind of, or maybe 4 to 6 weeks, kind of injury.
Yeah,
He's
it's been
quickly on
weird.
his
The timelines have been kind of all over the place. And
yeah,
then I feel like the Packers are trying to do like what the Utes did, what you're talking about, where like they're trying to like put it out there because he even put it out there that he could return the first week after his injury. And it's like,
yeah,
yeah, we know he's not going to, right? But like they're trying to play that game or whatever. But
right,
yeah, he might be able to come back next week. I think next week might be his first realistic timeline, but I could
right.
still see him probably one more week after that is what I'm guessing for Jordan
Yeah,
Love.
and it was good to see because Willis started that game against his former team that traded him basically nothing. Um, like it was good to see him get a revenge game as a starter on there. Obviously, it turned out to be better for him than it did for the Titans. He ends up throwing his first touchdown, and then and I think it was like a 60-yard bomb or something like that. Like he
It
played
was it was a screen pass. I can't remember how
was
much
it?
it was, but it ended up going. I think it was like 35 ish yards or something like
Oh, I
that.
was thinking of somebody else, but like he just looked good for once.
Yeah.
Then the Packers defense also end up getting 8 sacks, and they end up defeating
Eee.
those Titans who keep struggling. Should have never switched for Mariota. Just saying.
Hey,
Ends
and
up
to
30.
see, Malik Willis was the quarterback there for a little bit, but then they obviously went with Will Levis, and boy, he
Working.
is just setting himself up week
How's that
after
working?
week with these meme pictures, man. Will Levis he's the type of guy that he just never quits on a play, and for better or for worse, like I feel like a lot of times last year he made some amazing plays and got them some wins, but this year it's just not starting that way. These
Yeah.
fumbles, these laterals that he's trying to attempt for whatever reason, it's tough. But hey, you got to give your hats off to like you said, Malik playing a good game, playing a clean game. But I think a lot of it goes to the coaching
Yep.
in Green
Sure.
Bay, and Matt LaFleur is coaching his ass off right now, and it is huge for the Packers to get these two wins that they have without Jordan Love to keep you right in the picture. And they
Yeah.
got a big one against the Vikings this week, who are undefeated still. We'll get into that in just a little bit, but yeah, it'll be a big matchup, but still keeping them in the hunt for that NFC North title.
Yeah. I think that this was a statement win. We're talking about all day statement wins, and this was a huge win for them. It just shows the grit that they got in them, and that they're willing to fight through those, adversary times and those challenges that come with your starter quarterback getting hurt. People stepping in, and then, like I said, I think this was awesome to see for Malik to get revenge on your old team and say, "Yeah, f you guys, how's that working out for you?" Um, but let's move on to a happy feel kind of story. We've been waiting for this. The Panthers end up destroying the Raiders. It's like it wasn't really a destroy, but it was still a really good game for them. It was 36-22, and
I
Mister.
That's destroying in my book. If that's the Panthers, boy,
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah,
boy.
I guess you're right because let's talk the big news. I'll let you use his nickname for him, but I'm gonna use mine.
Who are you talking about? The
I'm gonna
Red
use mine.
Rocket, baby? He
Red
came in.
Rocket.
Yes, sir. He
Mr.
freaking dialed it
Ginger
up in this
himself,
game.
Andy Dalton, balls the hell out and probably has, if not, You know, he was very successful when he played for the Bengals. Like, he was in the same draft, I think, with Cam Newton. I followed those drafts just because it was like I loved Cam Newton at that time. But this was a career game for him, in my opinion. Just because Bryce Young got benched, right?
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
he ends up throwing 300 yards and three TDs. I think they had three touchdowns within like the first half.
Wow.
And we were questioning what changed, right?
Yep.
Like, what
Yep.
happened?
It's
Same old
definitely
line,
Andy. Yep.
same
Same
offensive
receivers.
guys, same
Yep.
offensive plays. Red Rocket just
It's the Red Rocket, man. He was the difference maker. And you know what? I think this is going to be good for Bryce Young. And it's not. I think the problem is he just got thrown in there, right? And
yeah,
we talk about that all the time. And
yep,
he's the case that doesn't work. You got a case in CJ Stroud that does. But what you can talk about now is because there was reports, a lot of people are trying to acquire Bryce Young,
yeah,
which kind of
14.
makes sense. You know, you even think like Miami losing Tua and stuff like that. Maybe Bryce Young go down there with some better weapons and stuff. But
Yeah,
Panthers are saying no. And I like that because what you can do now, and hopefully it doesn't destroy his confidence too much, but give him that year to learn behind a seasoned veteran. I
yeah,
know they brought in because they brought in Dalton, they brought in I think it was Josh McCown, who is as their quarterback coach, former journeyman quarterback, and then
yeah.
they had Frank Reich, who sucks, but he was a quarterback too as the head coach. So they brought in a bunch of quarterback people to kind of help him. But I think just being able to sit, not have to worry about stuff because he just definitely didn't look ready. That was the thing. Like you said, Andy Dalton comes in, lights it up with the same exact team Bryce Young could have done that with, but
Yeah,
Bryce Young's just not ready. And it
right.
sounds like it's awesome that the Panthers are saying, like, hey, nope, he's not available. We're going to keep him and let him hopefully just sit this whole year. Let Andy Dalton do his thing. It doesn't matter how many games you win or lose. You might not want to win too many. You might still want a good draft pick, but hey, good for the Panthers, good for the Red Rocket, especially. And hopefully this will end up being really good for Bryce Young.
You know, in my opinion, I think he should probably be traded. To be honest, I think that ship has kind of sailed to where he can restart up his career over there. I think that the best thing for the Panthers to do is trade him and get a first round pick out of him, for a team that
I
needs
don't know.
him.
They're probably not going to get a first round pick out of him now.
Probably not, but you know, to push off of and maybe push some other things on there, so then you're getting some kind of better value for him. But like four teams called for him, and they said no to him. But at this point, I feel like it would be really good for him to have a fresh start and to go somewhere where he can be successful. Because right now, I know it's only his second year, but it's just not working. And if Andy Dalton, old man, Mr. Ginger, Red Rocket could do it, then it makes you look bad because you were the first pick,
Yeah.
and now it's not looking too good. So it's gonna be
Yeah,
interesting to see what
I see your point there, and maybe it's not the right place, but I think what they're saying with not trading him, because if that was the case, I think they'd just be like, all right,
happens.
give me a fifth rounder, fourth rounder, sixth, maybe even like,
Yeah,
and we'll take him off our hands. But I think the other thing you'd have to do with that is go with another quarterback in this next year's draft. And
money.
like we're talking about earlier, how confident are you in those guys?
Um,
You're talking Quinn Ewers, Shador Sanders. I'm not sure if there's many other quarterbacks in that class. I don't know how confident you are. So I like the move to bench him and do what they should have done last year,
yeah,
which is have him sit. Um, but I definitely see your point where like maybe the era is over, but
little
maybe
too
it'll be a
late.
little bit interesting where they just don't
Yeah,
go that route. Maybe they stick with their investment, even though it is a new coaching staff and GM and stuff. But maybe patience will pay off,
yeah,
and hopefully they can have a quarterback going forward.
yeah. I mean, we'll have to see. Maybe it's a little too late, but maybe they also could rejuvenate kind of what they're prioritizing for him to be that franchise quarterback for sure. So.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about another number one pick who sucks ass. And that'd be Caleb Williams.
Wait,
Even
hold on.
though
Who was it?
he
What's his
actually, what'd you say?
What was his name?
Caleb Williams.
He sucks.
Oh man, well he actually kind of low key had a good game, but it was probably because he threw the ball 52 times,
Yeah.
lots of times. But he has 363 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game against the Colts. But the Colts come out with the win. Jonathan Taylor, he pops off for 23 yards, 23 carries, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But this was kind of a gritty game. And yeah, for if you're throwing the ball 52 times and only scoring 62 points is kind of, or 62, 16 points is kind of crazy. But yeah, like I said, Colts get the win, their first win of the season. And then one thing to note, I did see before, but I knew you would like it. Caleb Williams has the worst percentage of any quarterback against the blitz since 2016. So I just had to throw that one in there for you.
He's not ready. He was never ready. Caleb Williams sucks is what I'm trying to get my
There you
nails.
go. There
So,
you go.
I mean, good for him. I think it was a really good like outing for him. I when I watched that first touchdown he threw, it was kind of funny because his old line was celebrating it as if he just won the Super Bowl. You know, we talked about earlier where the Sanders were all celebrating that game like as if they won the game against Alabama or they won the national chip. But like, talk about yeah, it's exciting to throw your first touchdowns, but shouldn't you have done this already like 2 weeks
It's
ago?
week 3, yep, and it's the same thing too. I forgot to mention this, but like you know how I talked about the Patriots when Jermod Mayo getting the Gatorade shower and being
Yeah,
all excited, jumping up and down after a week 1 win, and now look at the spot you're at, right? So it's
yeah,
like I get being excited, celebrate it, keep the ball, have
for
that
sure.
forever. I would do the same thing. But yeah, like you said, just it's the level of it and where it's just like a little bit much. Like you got to keep your head on straight, in certain instances. Now, if that was the first touchdown pass for the game to win the game, go for it.
Different
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? But
Yeah, different.
when you're still down and losing the game, be excited, but be ready to come out the next drive, and try to win the game. So,
Yeah.
well, let's move right along. The Giants, the New York Football Giants. I can't believe I'm saying this, but they won a football game.
Ah,
Uh, they beat the Cleveland Browns 21-15. So I know Malik Neighbors finally had his coming out party, 2 touchdowns, some crazy catches, making you think of another young wide receiver for the New York Giants, one of your
OBJ.
favorites. Yes, sir. He had some crazy ones, but yeah, how about those Browns, buddy? Because I know that's who the Cowboys beat week 1 and looked really good. We thought, hey, these Cowboys are for real this year because they killed the Browns, but I don't know.
Oh man, no, it definitely was an impressive game for the Giants. Especially Malik, neighbors where he with that like that end zone touchdown. I think it was his second touchdown where it was just like it just looked like a video game catch.
Literally.
So it just it just to show, the receivers nowadays that we have are just insane. Their abilities to do some crazy things, but also it just shows how bad the freaking Browns are, right? Like Miles Garrett
Boy.
was injured. Um, he played, but he's been dealing with some kind of foot injury. I don't really know what it is. Amari Cooper has a game finally. Gets
There
two
you go.
touchdowns, and I forgot how many yards, but it wasn't super impressive. But he got me, I think, 26 points in fantasy finally.
7
Um,
receptions, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. That sounds
finally
like enough to win a fantasy matchup.
didn't. That's not important.
Oh.
Um, he had a good game finally. I still don't believe in Deshaun Watson. I think that he's not it. He just has lost it. And at this
Yep.
point, I think that you're ready to move on from it. You've made that mistake of giving him a like fully guaranteed contract, but the guy just
But
doesn't
you
even
got it
know what
now
he's doing.
anyways, right? I'd freaking at this point, I don't know. So what they are 1-2 now. I think they got a win last week, but boy, if he doesn't turn it around the next few weeks, I just screw it. Whatever. We're paying you anyways. Put DTR in there, put somebody else in there.
Yeah,
See if you got something else. You know what I mean? Like
yep,
it's yeah, I think it's about done for Deshaun Watson.
yeah. And Browns will always. What does Wesley say? Browns will always be
The Browns.
So, and it's we'll leave it at that. Let's talk about a French. Let's.
How about them Cowboys, baby?
I'm
Woohoo!
waiting for it. So Cowboys will always be the Cowboys. Should be the new saying too. Overhyped, overselling, overpriced, over talented team. So the Cowboys end up losing to the Ravens 28-25. Originally it was a 28 to 3 oh no 28-6 at halftime. Did not wake up until like towards the end of the third quarter, where somehow they kept talking about that Tom Brady, talk about a goat. Talked about that 26-3 start
28
against
to
the
3.
Falcons. Was it 28?
28 to 3. Yes,
28 to
yes, yes,
3,
yes.
sorry. Uh and all of a sudden it was like Dak heard something, the Cowboys heard something, and they were trying to make a same history run where they could do the 28-6 run. And they come back. Like it was a storming comeback. A little too late, a little too just don't even know what else to call it. It just looked like there was no life in them in that first like 3 quarters. The Ravens were able to do whatever they wanted. King Henry was King Henry. He was bulldozing people. Lamar Jackson was Lamar Jackson. He didn't even need to do too much. But it was just so frustrating because our defense was struggling, our offense was struggling. Finally, the offense steps up, gets an offside onside kick, which I don't know if that was the first onside kick recovered with the
Yeah,
new
was
rule.
there I want to say there was one more. I can't remember, but yeah, or
Uh,
maybe that was just the one that I had heard of. Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty crazy, especially with having to announce it and everything. Pretty
yeah, and they
nuts.
come back and end up losing 28-25. Lamar has a crazy run to obviously you knew it was gonna happen, right? He's gonna wait until the last minute, pull that ball out, run. It even faked me out really well, and he ends up getting the first
Yep.
down. And some interesting drama was happening along this game. Um,
Plenty of it.
your top paid quarterback still sucks, and then your third highest paid receiver, I don't know if he's second or third now, but
Second,
like
I want to say.
second highest paid receiver, they were chirping at it on the sideline. They were yelling at each other. CD looked like he was not happy. There was balls that were thrown to him that CD just couldn't get the ball. He looked lost out there. And then there's another, and then that's not even the end of it. And then on the defensive side, Mr. Tank Lawrence, Demarcus Lawrence, and Mr. Mike Captain, Micah Parson were chirping at it. You could see on the sidelines that they were yelling at each other and fighting, and like, oh boy, it's only week 3.
About them Cowboys, huh? Boy, I mean, I think the biggest problem I'm seeing is that you guys have like no run defense.
Yeah,
I mean, you're getting, and the thing is, the Ravens. We talked about it after week one. Is their offensive line not that impressive? And they definitely looked better, but man, I don't know because the Saints came in, did their thing. Saints came marching into Jerry World and just we don't have to talk about that again, but. I just don't know, man. You guys are looking like it's hard to stop the run, which is obviously going to be a huge problem, especially in today's NFL where we're kind of going more run heavy.
yeah.
And yeah, I the fights on the sideline not good. I did see CD came out and said I failed myself and failed the team in that loss, which is kind of a thing you want to see from your star guy, especially wide receivers that can be a little more diva ish and don't usually kind
Yeah,
of have that language. I like that from CD Lamb and
for
definitely would
sure.
love to see more from him on my fantasy team. But in all honesty, I think that's the biggest thing I'm worried about from this Cowboys team is that run defense. And yeah, you got problems. The offense isn't clicking like it should be, and you got all that talent, but it's just looking like, offensive lines are, no matter who it is, are able to move bodies against this Cowboys
And it's
defense.
it's it's like you don't have a run game. I'm sorry,
Yep.
Zeke. Love you forever, always. Not working. I don't know why they haven't elevated Mr. Dalvin Cook from the practice squad. I think that they end up doing that this week, but I don't know how much of a difference he's gonna make. Right? Like
Right.
it's
Right.
it. it just almost seems like they've lost the
And when
ability
Derrick
to run
Henry
the
comes
ball.
in, I'm sorry, yeah, I was just gonna say when Derrick Henry comes in to town and does that against you guys when everybody was saying that's who you should sign,
Yeah,
it's gotta hurt
that's a
as a
big
Cowboys
slap to
fan.
their face, dude. Jerry Jones, I literally can't stand Jerry Jones. Like, if there's people that I hate, it goes Jerry Jones, Jerry Jones, Jerry Jones.
Like that list from Shark Tales or whatever.
Yeah,
Like there's this, and then all the way down here, this is how much I hate
yeah.
Jerry Jones.
Literally, just that he just does not seem to want to win a Super Bowl. He just is focused on how much more money can I put in my pocket instead of how much can I put in towards building a franchise that can actually win Super Bowls. And it just shows what happened, like Dak said a quote too, and I know it's not word for word, but he's like, don't jump on the bandwagon when we're starting to turn things around. I was like,
Oh
bro,
yeah.
shut the frick up. You and Jerry Jones can freaking F off somewhere else, man. It doesn't look good, right? Like the defense is supposed to be good, defense is not good. Offense is
Yeah.
supposed to be good, offense is not good. It's just everything is not good, and it's starting to show with all
Yeah.
the issues that they're having personnel wise, and some people are on the hot seat. And I thought Zimmerman was gonna be a good coach, but it shows to show that like we really miss our guy, and I don't know. I really don't know how they can turn this around. They got the Giants next week. Should be an easier
Thursday
win.
night football. I don't
Right.
know. They beat the Browns too. To
So
see.
I mean, it's the Giants. Calm down. I know the Cowboys,
Oh
but the
boy, I hope
Giants.
that's another clip right there. I hope we get that'd be fun. That
It's
would
just the
be
Giants. They're
no,
not
and
that.
that's the thing too. You brought it up too with the running game or lack thereof. What are we talking about this year? We're we'll get into it. The 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah,
What are they doing? They're running the ball.
Smash
They're
Mouth football.
stopping the run. They're playing good defense, and they're
Yep.
3-0,
Yep.
right? And you guys can't do those two things. In the NFL, I know we used to like when it was Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger and Rodgers, that era, Peyton Manning. That's when you saw like some quarterbacks throwing for 350, 400, even 500 yards a game, right? And
Yeah.
now I feel like you're it's rare if you see a 300-yard passing game from a quarterback because it's going so much more on the run. That's how the schemes are working these days. And yeah, when you don't have the ability to run the ball, eat up that clock or stop the run, it's a tough thing. And yeah, you guys got you got a quarterback who's definitely good, I will say. Like I know you're not a fan of him, but like he's a top whatever 10, 15 quarterback and at minimum, but you got CD Lamb, you got other weapons, but when they know that you can't run the ball,
Makes a
it's going to
difference.
make passing the ball that much harder, especially in
Yeah.
today's day. So, got to turn it around. And yeah, like you said, you got an opportunity this Thursday night. So, hopefully for you guys, you can get it turned around. Hopefully for me, I can just scream into the mic. How about them Cowboys another time? That would be quite fun to
Second
see
week,
them go
second week in a row that you've been able to
down.
almost you becoming the new Stephen A. Pretty proud of you.
Well, let's talk about another NFC East team that won, and it was not the Cowboys. It was the Commanders.
Oh,
The Commanders, baby, going up against the Bengals on Monday Night Football, and boy, they came out hot. One thing to note: T. Higgins he made his return to the field. Didn't have that crazy of a day, which I think we wouldn't really expect.
yeah.
But it did seem to open up a little more for Jamar Chase. He was getting open a lot more, so that's good for the Bengals. But boy, and I talked about it, man. I know I've said it plenty of times on this podcast. The guy I wanted, I knew we probably weren't going to get him there towards the end. Jaden Daniels, dude. Holy shit, that guy. Talk it. I don't know what it is. I guess maybe if you're the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, you're just destined to be better than the number 1 pick. So next year, whoever has the number 2 pick, if they need a quarterback, or whoever has the number 1 pick, I should say, don't go with the guy you think you want. Just go with the next guy. It'll end up working better. But no, in all seriousness, Jaden Daniels, man, this dude is proving that he's going to be a guy in this league. I think. I know it's early. A lot can still happen, but the way he was just looking out there was insane. I mean, for hell's sake, he made Terry McLaurin look good.
Terry
And
was
I
good.
had him on plenty of fantasy teams in the last couple of years that bit me in the ass playing him. He never got anything. But you know what? Maybe it's because Terry didn't have a quarterback. They showed a graphic of like, I think he had 9 starting quarterbacks before Jaden Daniels, and talking Case Keenum, Sam Howell, just I think Colt McCoy was in there. I mean, all these names of guys that shouldn't be quarterbacks, but man,
Starting
this dude
quarterback.
he went off 91.3% completion percentage, broke a rookie game single record, and yeah, had a couple touchdowns running, passing, and just making a lot of the right plays. So I know I saw Cam Taylor Britt, who's famous for talking shit on the opposing teams. He's a cornerback for the Bengals. He said that Jaden Daniels, they just run a college offense with him, can't do anything, and then his ass gets out there burned multiple times by Scary Terry and Jaden. So I'm happy to see it. He's not in my division, my conference, so I can still kind of root for him. I'm a big fan of Jaden Daniels. I'd be worried. That might be the type of guy. Imagine him in a Dallas Cowboy star. Now you might be talking about a quarterback that could win something with the Cowboys.
Relax. That's never gonna happen. Terry doesn't know what he's doing. Half of the time, he's not even knowing what is on his agenda or what meetings he needs to attend. But F that guy. On another note, Jane Daniels, man, he is a dog. Like
Yes,
he looks
sir.
like he knows what he's supposed to be doing. He can, he's not afraid to use his leg. Like we've talked about these like quarterbacks, they're athletic. They're able to, you can do it with their arm, but you can also use your legs as a weapon to kind of get out
Yep.
of it and keep teams guessing basically. And I liked it. Good win for them. Even though they're in my division, as long as it's not the Eagles, I don't care. And sadly, the well, yeah. Anyways, so good win for them. Good statement wins. The Bengals continue to struggle, trying to figure out what their identity is, and trying to figure out what system that they need to be playing. I don't know why they're struggling so much. But they're
Yeah,
1-2,
starting
right?
0 and 3, 0 and 3,
0-3. Oh,
0 and 3. So they joined the Titans, and then we'll get into another team that joins them 0 and 3. But yeah,
and me,
not looking good.
I'm 0
What's
and
that?
3.
And you are 0 and 3. I'm not, baby. Shout out my boy Sean. He apparently let me have a win because his fantasy team decided not to show up, except for Kyron Williams, who was in the 49ers Rams game, which was my lock of the week, getting into
Yep.
our picks. Not much for the Rams here for the first go of it, but Kyron Williams popping off, front flipping into the end zone, just all kinds of nut stuff. And then talk about a guy who deserves a shout out, Jawan Jennings, dude. Holy shit.
Once it
He
goes
popped
off.
off for 46 fantasy points, 11 receptions, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns. And, I remember picking this game, and I'm like, I know they're both injured, but I think the Niners are the better team. They still got their quarterback, and they still got their defense, so I'm going to pick them as my lock, right? Well, no, they actually end up blowing a big lead, and the Rams come in and take the dub away from the 49ers. So, boy, already down 5 points there. And then I know you guys all remember me picking the Patriots as my dog, my underdog of the week. They did not cover, they lost by 21 points. They did not
Great.
cover at all. And then to get into the next game, this was like the surprise of the week. The Buccaneers, who were 6.5-point favorites over the Broncos. I thought I got this at a steal. Whew. Broncos came in and just slapped them around in Tampa Bay, 26-7. Bo Nix finally kind of looked pretty good, and I saw him get that rushing touchdown and played a really good game. And yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of the upset of the week there. And another thing I'm not happy to see, because I got Mr. Rashad White on my fantasy team, but the rookie Bucky Irvin is supposedly going to get more snaps coming from it because head coach Todd Bowles says he's earned it. So love that there after Rashawn White just, pops off this year, but let's not even give him anything this year. So that's awesome. But yes, anyways, getting back to it. Broncos and Bo Nix looking a little bit better.
Yeah.
I know that some people were calling Bo Nix the next Mac Jones, but maybe not. Maybe he's not.
Yeah, I don't know if I would go that far. First off, good to see two former Ducks kind of linking up at the beginning of the game. Bucky Irvin and Mr. Bo Nix himself. That was awesome to see. And then it was good to see for him to get his first final, like first win to show that like he's not a bust. I think it just took time for this offense to finally click. And the thing that
Yeah,
opened it up too, I think, was the run game. The run game finally started clicking and it was doing really well. Um, and you said this earlier with the Cowboys. If you don't have a run game, you can't pass the ball. Teams already know what you're gonna do. So yeah, huge win for him. Huge confidence boost for him. Yeah, Jawan Jennings going off like that, 46 points fantasy. You know what's funny is I thought about picking him up,
I did
didn't.
too. I went
So
with I think I went with Demarcus Robinson, who didn't even get used in the game at all. I was like, I'm going to go with this guy, looking
yeah,
like he'll get a little more. So that's awesome. And now he's going to be, gone in every fantasy league this week. You already
yeah.
know that. So
Yep. Yeah, it's because when you have all your players basically injured, aka me, and you have players from 49ers who all are aka stupid and injured all the time, you have people like that could take the opportunity. So, good games. Obviously, it's good to see Cooper Cup avoid his IR too.
yeah,
Um,
that was a
because
huge news. I was surprised because it looked like he was definitely going for IR, but yeah, they said that
yeah.
he's going to stay off so he can return a little bit sooner.
Yeah, so good games. I think the games that I was a little bit more interested as well was the Chiefs and the Falcons. That was my lock for the week. They were a 4.5 favorite. Oh,
Hey, whoa, whoa,
4.5
whoa!
points.
That was
Oh,
Wesley's lock for
sorry.
the week.
That's my fault. I said,
Everybody wanted to, but yeah.
and I actually it's funny because I actually didn't want to pick the Chiefs. Um, but he ended up like just stealing him right before because he got to pick. That's the thing that you get when you suck at picking. You have to pick last, so and he
Oh
picked
boy.
first. But yeah, so his lock for the week that it was a good game. The Chiefs beating the Falcons 22-17. Like I said, they were 4.5 favorites over the Falcons. I thought the Falcons had a chance. But
Yep.
they're still trying to, I think, find trying to find their identity for sure. And it was a back and forth game. The teams very. It was an interesting, entertaining games. And once again, the refs playing into a factor. I don't know how much Mahomes or the NFL is paying these refs, but
T
there was a
Swift,
no call.
all that concert money she's making these days, you never know.
I don't
I
know.
know you got Kyle Pitts, and that was the PI call
Yep.
that was not called. It definitely was, I think, and you're getting a lot of that. It's just going to get louder, and like I said, I know how this was as a Patriots fan. That's how it went when you're that dominant and you're every controversial call, which really happens, I think, a little bit more than you get credit for or than other teams do, just because
Yeah.
the Chiefs are in the spotlight. But at the same time, some of them are getting a little crazy at this point. Like that was so obvious on Kyle
Yeah.
Pitts. That was pretty crazy. So, but yeah, the Chiefs find a way to, get another win. They haven't really dominated any of these games. They haven't um they haven't really shown that they're the defending champions or whatever, but what defending champions do, saw it a lot with the Patriots back in their heyday. They've just found a way to win a game.
Right.
And it may not have been the way you think they would, but they come out and they get the win, the big win on Sunday Night Football. And I think the Falcons looked good. It's a tough game, it's a tough matchup. But yeah, Chiefs come away with the win. So Wes gets his points for the lock there. One thing to know we didn't say, I'll say it. I had me a Wesley week, and I got -5 points for this week because none of my picks hit. I lose the 5 points from my lock. So, yeah, had to say it. Got to get it out there. But let's move on to a really good matchup, which was the Saints and Eagles, dude. And I know how much you love the Eagles, so I'll just go ahead and steal that thunder from you and talk about it. The Eagles win. So fly, Eagles, fly. They're back, baby. But it was a crazy game. Huge defensive battle. Thing we have not seen from the, prior to this game, 45 points a game Saints. They lose in a 15-12 defensive battle. It really was, and it didn't really get much scoring until towards the end of the game.
Third, yeah, third
Saquon was
quarter, fourth.
finally able to bounce out for a 65-yard touchdown. Love that for one of my fantasy teams, and as well as their tight end Dallas Goddard has a career day with 10 receptions for 170 yards. So huge day for the Eagles. Huge win to go into New Orleans and get that dub. Bad thing for New Orleans, their starting center is going down, and he will be out about 6 to 8 weeks with the groin injury,
Yeesh.
just like we talked about. And that's what the Saints have been really good. Alvin Kamara and that offensive line have looked really good. And when you lose your starting center, that's going to cause some problems. So not good news for the Saints there.
Yeah, I mean, somehow the Eagles end up pulling this one away, especially that big freaking TD run. The whole entire time I was like, don't let him get away, don't let him get away.
Yep.
And he ends up finding the hole and he's just gone. Tyrann Matthew gets reading it wrong and ends up getting burned. He had a really good game where he actually had an interception too, but it was a low scoring game. The defense kind of played a big factor for both teams, and it was the same thing. The teams didn't wake up until towards the end of the third, beginning of the fourth. But always hate to see the freaking 49ers or the
Or the
Steelers
Eagles.
or the Eagles win because the 49ers lost, but the
Ah,
Eagles lost. So this
Eagles
week
won.
sucked. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, especially. Well, let's move on to Wesley's Steelers, man. This guy is having a
Over.
football year so far. His fantasy team in our league, 3-0. His college team, 4-0. And his professional team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, 3-0 after beating the Chargers 20-10. One huge thing to note: Justin Herbert gets injured again.
Yep.
Same thing
Ankle.
on that ankle, and I think that he just shouldn't have played this week. I don't think he was ready. I respect the toughness. I respect that you want to be out there and stuff, but now you've re-aggravated it, and you're going into a divisional matchup against the Chiefs where I'm not too sure, that he's going to play, and that's going to be huge for the Chargers. Even though they got a great running game, we obviously see when that starting quarterback, especially a guy of Justin Herbert, goes down, it's going to be tough. Some other injuries is Steelers pass rusher Alex Highsmith is expected to miss multiple weeks with a groin injury. And then another guy that'll be out next week is Derwin James after getting suspended for a game for repeated helmet tackles, including the big one to Pat Fryermuth, which I think is what the one everybody kind of saw. But I
Yeah.
know Chargers fans not happy about this. Julio was popping off about this. We've mentioned him, our Chargers fan friend. But yeah, Steelers find a way. Justin Fields continues to run that offense well. Nope, not turn the ball over. Threw another touchdown in this game, and defense for the Steelers looked awesome. They're 3-0, man, and not looking like they're going to stop anytime soon. Mike Tomlin refusing to name a starting quarterback, but that's typical Mike Tomlin stuff. But
Yeah.
honestly, dude, I think it would be just better to go with Justin Fields at this point. And if you show that confidence in him,
Yeah.
like, hey, you're our guy, you're the starting
That's all.
quarterback, I think
Yeah.
that the team's going to galvanize around that. I think that everybody wants that, I would feel like. And the thing is, you have Russell Wilson, you're paying him $1 million. You're not tied to him.
Yep.
So, whatever. That's my kind of thoughts. But yeah, Steelers 3-0. Keep finding a way to win.
Yeah. I mean, this was a huge. No, it wasn't really huge. It just showed that the Steelers are willing to do whatever it takes to win. My in-laws, my father-in-law was down at the game, loved it. Great
Nice. Oh
atmosphere. He
yeah.
said it was like thousands of terrible towels flying everywhere. The atmosphere was awesome. It's just always awesome to go into your team that you like a lot and go into
Right.
their home game for the first time. And so I'm glad he got to experience that in real person and get to experience them win. And again, like you said, Justin Herbert should have never played this game. I
Yeah.
know that he was questionable, but it's not worth it. Like you still got a long season, and he's been dealing with this for how long now, right? Like at the beginning of
Well,
this,
and they started 2-0, right? Like
they did. They were 2-0,
yeah.
and they just barely
So
lost this game. But it's just it's not worth it to lose your franchise quarterback over an injury that he just needs to heal from.
this
And
early in the season too.
yeah, and so I think that like they need to do a little bit of a soul digging and figure out that he just needs to sit and heal. It's still
Yeah.
early in the season. You're still a great team, and regardless of what happens, you build off of what was going on last year. You look a lot better. You're protecting that quarterback a lot better, and so don't just ruin it by him going out and wanting to compete. You know, sometimes it's just not as entertaining to see that. So good for the Steelers. Not a whole lot of good things happening for the Chargers that game.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, good picks for Wesley. I don't know what he did. What did he end up finishing with?
He ended up with 8 points. So he didn't get his underdog pick, but he got his lock, and then he got the Steelers against the Chargers. So he comes away with 8 points this week, bringing him back out of the negative.
Nice. Yeah, good for him. I think that um the person that you really want to be talking about is me. So let's just get real into
Oh,
it.
if you're winning something this year,
So what I say, man, I
huh?
told you guys I wasn't playing after that pick'em games with the NBA. I disappointed,
Yep.
and that's my sport. Um, but let's talk about my lock, the team that just keeps destroying people and that just looks like they are on a revenge tour. The Bills. They were
Boy.
5.5 favorites, 5.5 points favorites over the Jaguars, and our boy Josh Allen looked like prime MVP candidate right now. He had a
Oh, yeah.
dominating game. He threw for 200 yards, 4 TDs, and just in the first half. 4 TDs in the first half.
Hey.
Um, so the Jags end up losing to the Bills 47-10. Something to mention this as well. It was awesome, good moment too. DeMar Hamlin gets his first interception. That was sweet to see. Um, and just a feel good story just because what he's been through. But the
Yes.
Bills look good, man. The Bills look
Bill.
good. I continue to will ride them now instead of the Texans, maybe. All right, Kyle, go ahead and admit this one too. It's been a long day for you, long
Golly.
season.
Hey, the Utes are looking good. At least I gotta have that. But yeah, the Bills are killing it. I hate Josh Allen. Hate Josh Allen. Just because he's so freaking good. And hey, at least I love him on my fantasy teams. I got him on a couple, so that definitely saved me in one, dominated in another. He is a dog, and really is. That's why I hate him, and the fact that he's in the AFC East and probably will be forever. Um, but boy, the Jaguars, talk about, that's the other 0-3 team.
Yeah,
You just paid Trevor Lawrence, who I know you were shouting out DeMar Hamlin for that first career pick. I saw plenty of Twitter memes saying that Trevor Lawrence is the only quarterback to throw an interception to a person that has died.
yeah, yeah.
So not looking good. And Mac Jones comes in the game
Mm.
and immediately strip fumble that only Mac Jones could pull off, man.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
oh boy, those Jaguars not looking good for those fans. I heard, and it was Thanksgiving when they were the number one seed in the AFC last year, and they have not won a game since
Since then,
Thanksgiving last year.
wow.
So they are you're on the struggle bus if you're Jaguars fans, and unfortunately the Bills. Without Stephon Diggs, the Bills look even better without Stephon Diggs. I might just say it. I mean, I think that, like, I know Stephon Diggs is a guy. We were talking about, how they can be kind of wide receivers. A lot of times can be divas, and I think that's his personality. He's a very loud guy, wants the ball, and I think now that Josh Allen can just focus on doing whatever Josh Allen wants to do,
Just looking
distributing
for
the
the
ball,
open.
the Bills look a little bit better, man, and that
Yeah,
that really sucks to really freaking sucks to say.
yeah. I mean, it just makes his job easier not having to force feed your star wide receiver. He's just looking for
Yeah.
the open guy, and it's making his job so much easier. So the Bills look good. Josh Allen looks good. I get the win on this one. Get the 3 points on it. And you know what I said. It's a good week when you can get your lock to win, and the Bills did it so easily. So, another moment, the Dolphins Still believing though.
Yeah, I wasn't too confident in your pick here. I'm not really sure why you went with it. Um, but yeah, they lose, of
They
course, to the
lose.
Seahawks, 24 to
Yeah.
3. So same thing as the Patriots, right? But they have Skylar Thompson, who I don't understand why they even have kept him
Yeah.
for so long. I know he's been in the system and stuff, but I think it's very clear that he's not going to be the guy. And I feel like, you signed Tyler Huntley and they didn't even play him. I think they played Tim Boyle after. So I don't know if they're trying to give Huntley some time. I know there's a lot of people saying they should trade for Matthew Stafford, sign Ryan Tannehill. But like you talked about last week, Tyler Huntley could be a guy that could kind of go into that system, fit
Same
pretty well,
system. Yeah.
So I'm a little surprised. I would hope that they put him in maybe this week.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he ended up getting the start. I think that they just wanted to build his confidence that he was the backup quarterback. He just did not have a great game either, so it made the Seahawks defense look really good.
Yep.
And it kind of sucks because you have a lot of good players on that Dolphins team that are on a lot of people's fantasy team. A big
Yeah.
mention was Joe
Sean
Mixon
had a
being
couple
out,
of
like
them
you
that
said.
he was talking to me about. Yep.
Yeah, so it I think that Tyler Huntley can do the job and get it done for you guys, for them because it's the same system. He has the same capabilities as Tua. Obviously, Tua's 10 times better than him, but
Yeah, yeah.
he can do pretty much the
But
same
and
thing
he's
in that
proved that
system.
in Baltimore,
Yeah.
when Lamar went down for
Yep.
for some weeks at a time. Like he came in, did not do as good as Lamar, but did
Got you
enough,
wins.
use the defense, whatever, and kind of use the
Yeah.
same system. So
Yeah. So I just was going for them just because I thought that would be a good pick for me, but they end up losing, so I didn't get any points there, and then the wagon I was riding did not go too well for me this week. The
fell
Texans,
off the trail, huh?
man,
Oh boy.
I end up losing, or actually I don't end up losing anything, but I end up getting
No
uh
points.
no points from that. The Texans got crushed by the Vikings 34-17, and Sam Darnold looking like he is a legit quarterback.
Yep. Heard a thing that the only people that haven't liked Sam Darnold, this was from Bill Belichick too. The only people that haven't liked Sam Darnold is the Jets. Like he went to the Niners, he went to the Panthers, and they liked him in both of those places. And clearly the Vikings like him. I think you see with Kevin O'Connell how good of a coach he is when you give him a legit quarterback, what they can do.
Yeah,
And boy, Vikings 3-0. Who would have predicted that with
who would have
Sam
thought of that?
Darnold?
Yeah,
And I continue to say it, man. If they tried to go with JJ McCarthy this year, I think you're looking at a different story. So I think it's almost good that Sam Darnold is the guy leading the league in touchdown passes.
yeah,
Oh boy, and yeah, that Brian Flores defense just shut down the Texans, which we have not seen in a long time. So
yeah.
impressive for the Vikings.
That how high power offense definitely did not get to where they need to go, that week, um, and you could see Stephon Diggs trying to get them all, motivated on the sideline. Like CJ Stroud threw 2 picks, I believe. It was just a tough week for them, and so it is what it is. Still think that Texans are a really good team. They just had a tough week, and
Yeah.
I'm looking good still in the standing. We have a last place with 7.5 points. Mr.
Making a
Wesley himself,
comeback.
big country, came back negative, not negative anymore. And then Mr. Jacobs himself in second place with 8.5 points, just one
Man,
point over Wesley. So
fell back
and
this week, but we'll come back. We'll come back. We'll come back.
the top dog, the chosen one, the king himself, you can call it. He's at 20 points, 20.5 points. Me, myself, feisty,
Nice.
baby. So continue to ride this hot hand. I have some revenge tour from that NBA pick'ems that we did. So, um, yeah, great,
Well,
great week for me. Even though I didn't get many points, still ahead by a lot of points.
yeah, because you're just lucky. I fell. I fell this week. Okay, but you know what happens when you fall? You
Yeah,
you pick yourself back up. And what better way to do it than even though they did just lose? pick the Texans. I got them this week since I had the worst week. So sorry, Feist, your streak is over. I don't give a fuck about it. I picked them too as my lock because they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars as they are 7-point favorites. So feeling good about that pick, especially after a loss like that. I feel like the
Bounce back.
Texans are going to come out on fire and
Yeah.
bounce back. So, and then another team that was in that same game is who I'm going with, the Vikings as my underdog
Wow.
against Green Bay. They're 2.5-point underdogs in Green Bay. Jordan Love may be back, so that could have something to do with it. But Vikings are rolling right now. I don't see any reason for them to stop. So I'm going to go with them as my underdog. And then my random is going to be the San Francisco 49ers, who are 10.5-point favorites over the Patriots. So feeling good about those picks. Feeling
Not so
good. We're going to
Homer, huh?
bounce back here. We're going to bounce back.
Not so Homer this week, huh?
Not so Homer. We might be, like I said, needing a good tackle
Big
in the
boost.
early picks of the draft. Moving on to Wesley's picks. Cue it up. Homer picks the
Homer.
Steelers as 1.5 favorites over the Colts as his lock. That's only at 1.5 points, so he's feeling pretty confident in those Steelers. His underdog is the Bills, who are 2.5-point underdogs against the Ravens. Might be a good pick there. Good game. We'll have to watch. And then his random, which maybe he should have used as his lock, is the Jets, who are 7.5-point favorites over the Broncos.
Nice. Yeah, I am curious to see what ends up happening in those games because especially the 49ers being 10,
Got
10
some
point,
interesting
10 and a
ones.
half points. And then the Jets, the Broncos, you really need to start giving them some credit, Bo Nix is looking good, man. He's
Well,
just
we'll
starting to turn
see.
things around.
We'll
So
see.
my pick 'em this week, I picked the oh
Homer.
I picked the Cowboys as my lock finally.
Interesting.
They are a 6-point favorite over the Giants. I think that we can handle business in the Giants, even though it's been a struggle last couple of weeks. I think they're finally going to turn this around, and that they're going to have a really good season. Let's not get that far ahead of us. Good game.
A
And
good game.
then
There you go. Let's start with that.
yeah, let's have like a good first 4 quarters.
There you go. There you go.
I picked my underdogs as the Colts. I think that they have a chance to finally end that streak for the Steelers. And
Okay.
Charlton looks really, or Richardson, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in him. I think that they're still going to continue to get better, and he's going to continue to get better. So he has a chance in that Steelers defense. It's scary, but it's manageable. So, and then my
Yep.
random. I paid the refs this week, so hopefully let's hope that
Yep.
works out for me. KC, I picked the Kansas City Chiefs, 8.5 favorites over the Chargers. The Chargers
Good
should
pick.
should
Good
not
pick.
have Herbert if they're trying to protect him. So it should be a good game for them, easy win for them, and hopefully I don't end up regretting that. So
Moving on to 4-0 and maybe looking good for your team as well and your pick'ems. So
yeah.
all righty, well that wraps it up. Like we said, we got Thursday night football, an exciting matchup against the 1-2 Giants and the 1-2 Cowboys. Can't wait for that one. We'll have to see if we can get any clips off of Feist off of that. But thank you, Feisty, for joining me, and thank you all for joining us. This is another episode of your favorite couch potatoes. Make sure to check out episodes dropping every Thursday on YouTube and Spotify. And then, of course, clips, stories, everything you know it, dropping on the socials, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at your favorite couch potatoes. Give us a like, comment, share, help us grow the program. We'd really appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see you on the couch.